I know, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I haven't had my coffee yet either, so that's why I'm holding it up here. Thank you for coming today. I know it's early for everybody, but I promise you that you're going to learn a lot in this morning's session. Our session, as you see here, newest products, hottest trends. And what we want to do over the next 50 minutes is talk to you about what's new, what's next, and really what matters for you and your future, both professionally and personally, that you should think about. I want to start out this session letting you think about in new ways. And I want to tell you a quote that kind of will frame the session for you. And it's this: don't be afraid of new ideas. Be afraid of old ones. Don't be afraid of new ideas. Be afraid of the old ones. And the reason I say that is new ideas are the ones that will stretch us further, take us farther, and make us successful. The old ones make you feel comfortable, but they don't do much for you, do they? So what we want to do is be very provocative with you here and teach you something new. On my panel behind me, we have an expert in consumer packaged goods. We have a blogger and expert in the field of moms and kids, and a friend of mine, a fellow futurist, that are here to bring different perspectives to lots of different questions. We're talking about trends broadly, and we're going to talk about many more, but I'm going to throw one over here to Michelle as the futurist. Who cares about trends? Why even bother? Why even bother?
Why even bother? Because by following, really you want to follow trends because we want to understand how change happens over both the short and the long term. One of the questions I think that gets asked quite often is it most important to follow short or long-term trends? And the answer is yes. Both, essentially. We always say that not all change happens, but not all change is created equal, meaning that change happens throughout different velocities over time. So social trends, for example, can take several years and even decades to be felt, whereas technological changes or those in the scientific realm can happen really, really quickly. So it is important to stay on top of them.
So short and long.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now let me ask you as the futurist here, what are the trends outside of candy and confection that we need to know? What are those big social trends, political trends that we should be following?
Well, I think to me one of the most important ones outside of the industry is in the life sciences.
Life sciences.
Yep, in life sciences. We're moving to a place where genome mapping is becoming incredibly accessible. Several years ago, the Human Genome Project, which mapped humans, was completed, but now we're actually moving to the point where we can map personal or individualized genomes. So there's several companies that do this. The reason that that's important is that we're getting to the place where we're going to be able to see more and more customized and personalized health products, understanding the individual metabolisms of people in different market segments. And this is a great opportunity for especially candy and confectioner companies.
So I can have my own personalized candy in the future.
Absolutely.
Mapped to my genome.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit more about keeping on top of trends. Okay, how do we find the future? What resources do you all go to say, I really want to keep on top of what's next? Where should these guys go, blog-wise, website-wise? Where do you go?
And I just add to what Lynn had said is our general rule is most people look at industry trends, and that's where you're comfortable, as you said, Lisa. We're comfortable with the change that we know. But we ask folks to look to subscribe to at least 3 publications that are completely outside of their industry.
Completely.
And a really simple exercise is when next time you travel and you go to the airport, go to one of the bookstores and just pick up 2 or 3 magazines that you would have never thought you'd pick up, whether it's U.S. Sailing or not Food and Wine, U.S. Sailing or Psychology Today or The Futurist, which is actually a great magazine as well. And then the other is to get out. I have a general rule that I go to at least 1 new conference every year on a subject that I know absolutely positively nothing about. Just to have that steep learning curve to make sure I'm learning.
What's an example of a conference that you'd go to?
Virtual Worlds, actually.
Virtual Worlds, okay.
Yep, the Virtual Worlds Expo.
Just to learn about something completely different.
Yep.
Okay. So an advice obviously to the audience here is go out and find something new.
Yep.
Go out and read something new. I'm a big fan of a couple sites. I love going to trendwatching.com. Trendwatching is a good one. Springwise.com is another good one for international trends and innovations around the world. No, it's now Bloomberg, but Business Week's innovation blog, they have a great blog where they do a lot of interviews and insights with leaders from around the world. Those are great ones to go and check out. Well, now, this is an interesting question we were talking about earlier, and I want to throw this one back to you to start. How do people decide, or how do you know what a snack is?
I think one of the biggest things that I know we talk about all the time is snack isn't a category. Snack is an eating occasion.
Okay, tell more about
Anything can be a snack. All of these products can be snacks. For some people, they might even be a meal. I can't imagine who that would be, but for some of them it might be a meal. But think of all the snack bars that are out there. I have a colleague at work who would consider one of those 90-calorie snack bars breakfast.
Right.
But the flip side of that is I also know people who would consider a lean cuisine meal a snack. Bodybuilders. So it really is snacking being an occasion. Anything can be a snack. A beverage can be a snack as well.
That I think is a really important trend and a great opportunity for companies is to make packaging more interactive. You've got really moving beyond the package for labeling, adopting RFID codes or QR codes that allow you to scan, say, with a cell phone or a camera, give you the code, take you to a website, and tell you the story behind it. Whether or not it's about the supply chain, but also about the nutrition, where it comes from, etc. I could actually see a point in the future where one of these packages has a QR code on it, which is just a second-generation barcode. I could scan it, it takes me to the website, but it also records all of the ingredients in the product that I'm eating and stores it in my phone. So I'm having sort of an updated caloric or health profile for myself.
Interesting. In 5 years, Candy will, what do you think?
Well, what I wrote down was Candy will continue to blur the lines between food and medicine, food and fun, nourishment and a treat, and good and bad.
Wow, say that again.
Okay. Blurring the lines between food and medicine, we talked about that a lot, food and fun,
right.
So nourishment and a treat, that's like food and fun, and good and bad.
Very interesting. Michelle, what would you have said?
Actually, close to that. I would say that in 5 years, candy will be the new health food. And I think we've got a great opportunity to rethink what candy is. It doesn't have to be all sugar. We have a great opportunity to create products that are, say, genetically modified. An apple is, at the moment, what we would consider a healthy snack. But what if an apple were genetically modified to express genes that both had cinnamon and sugar in them as well? All of a sudden it becomes a little more candy-like. I think that there's also a great opportunity as adults are getting older and you're seeing the baby boomers age. Diabetes is a huge problem, and candy actually has an opportunity to become that new health category.
Interesting. Kim, how about you?
Well, along those lines, I do want to mention something, and you'll all just have to Google it because there's not a lot of time to discuss it, but something called the miracle berry or M-berry that turns, it sort of coats the taste buds so that sour things taste sweet. So something like a lemon can be a very sweet treat if someone has taken this or eaten that prior to the lemon. So it could redefine candy in that way as well. I do think there is the potential for candy to become legislated if the industry doesn't take the lead in terms of things like some of these hot button issues, at least hot button issues for some leading consumers on the high fructose corn syrup or the food dyes and additives, artificial additives.
Very interesting. I want to go back to Michelle here as our futurist, and I'm going to ask you a question about what's the biggest surprise that will just disrupt their business here in the audience in the next 10 years, the thing that they never saw coming?
Well, hopefully you see it coming. But I think that's edible packaging.
Edible packaging.
Edible packaging. I think we're seeing huge advances in material sciences and a really big push towards green or different kinds of packaging. And I think that a lot of the packaging that you see here will actually disappear.
Interesting. Literally.
Literally.
Literally disappear.